It's a tug of war. Though I know I mustn't crumble.
Hey, folks.
It's a tug of
Hey folks, welcome to this edition of Much to Say, Much the number 2, Say. Pretty soon you'll be able to log on to muchtwosay.com to follow us a little bit more closely, and we'll alert you as to when that's going to take place. It's been an interesting week this week. Today is August the 7th, 2009. A new justice was named, Justice Sotomayor. Is that right?
Very, very impressive. Yeah.
And then, good, bad, or indifferent, something that may have actually dwarfed that a little bit is some of these healthcare reform town hall meetings that have been taking place, which I have mixed emotions about in terms of how they've been getting out of hand. But basically, there's been a lot of heckling going on, and at some point, I think, in some of them, a little violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the town hall meetings, their intent is to distribute information. And by those who are yelling and disrupting and chanting, I think that is really taking away from the dissemination or the spreading of correct information. The part that I have a little bit of an issue with is the parts that, even though nobody knows the final version of the bill, are already spreading misinformation. And one of the examples of that is the end-of-life issue. And in a nutshell, what that is there is a stipulation in all three bills that are going through right now that doctors can be paid through Medicare for counseling elderly patients on a living will every 5 years. A lot of elderly people, probably understandable, are a little afraid of this, and the information that's being spread is that it's making elderly people decide how they're going to die, and I think that frightens a lot of people. But in actuality, it's counseling on putting together a living will, deciding, do not resuscitate, do you want to be kept alive by machines. It just gets people to think about that issue, and I think that's just one example of some of the misinformation that's going around.
What's scary to me is the fact that I don't know that anybody has really read the whole bill.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in a lot of the, I should say, I guess, radical Republican right-wing side, they react to things pretty quick and then they pounce together. I say they because, I'm definitely staunch Republican, but certainly not out there so radical and militant like what we've seen on television. I do wish that there would be a little bit more order to these town hall meetings, so correct information could be, I guess you'd say, disseminated. Is that a correct word or no?
Yeah.
And then responsibly talked about.
Instead of the chanting when somebody's trying to talk. I made a entry on my blog this week that my wife is a third grade teacher. Yeah, my entry was that her students know how to talk one at a time and have civil discourse better than some of these people that are at the town hall meetings, which is pretty sad. I understand the emotion. I still have fear. I'm on the left, and I still have fear about socializing all this stuff. I was against the bailouts, and I'm against government intervention. However, on the other hand, I know that there are 40 to 50 million people out there who have no insurance, a lot of those being children, and something inside of me says that's just not right. Mm-hmm. So I think reform is needed. Whether this is the right way to go, I think you have to get so far to present all the ideas and then make a decision, instead of just saying.
If it brings it to the front burner enough that the insurance companies have to reform themselves, which I wish would happen, because that's where a lot of it lies, as well as these frivolous lawsuits.
Yeah.
I mean, what these doctors have to spend to keep their practices open is just outrageous.
Absolutely.
So there is a middle ground, and I told Neil this a week or two ago. I don't know that this is Barack Obama's idea, but typically in any type of negotiation, you start out, you keep the bar high, and then know it's going to meet somewhere below that in
Yeah.
the middle. Maybe he's pushing that so hard, and he knows that, okay, if we can meet somewhere in the middle, but at least get it done, let's get it done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's probably a lot of truth to that. This is his first big push since he's been president. If he doesn't make it, we can start over and try to meet some middle ground. Unfortunately, what that means is that that's another year or two for people who don't have insurance and who have to put their operations or their kids' operations on the back burner for a year or two, which is just
I wish it would
painful to
spawn
see.
insurance companies just to go ahead and react to it at this
Mhm.
level and go ahead and come up with some sort of plan that would help these families.
Mhm.
And a lot of us fall into that from time to time,
Mhm.
whether it be through, unemployment. Of course, we don't need to touch on the welfare system and that kind of thing. That's a long story. But
Well, the fact that over 50% of bankruptcies happen because of a medical catastrophe, I think that tells a story. And if we can just have some dialogue. Again, I'm not sure that I call him Barack.
I know.
He tells me to call him
BO.
I'm not sure that what he's presenting and what's going through right now is the perfect solution, but I would just like to see dialogue instead of yelling and chanting. I guess that's what it comes down to. Seeing some of these town hall meetings.
There's no real silver lining, at least though in my camp, it's brought more awareness, because I think other things would have dwarfed the topic for a while. At least, I hate to say my side, your side, because you and I kind of are meeting in the middle to some degree, but to where people will think about it. Let's not give them, a free meal ticket and endorse something that hadn't been talked about or resolved to the fullest extent.
I agree. So, I think in this case, maybe we're a little closer to the middle than right and left. We'll see as it.
And this wasn't planned.
No, it wasn't.
We just shot from the hip today.
Yep. We're in agreement, at least at this point. We'll see what happens on the debate as we go forward. We have a little time left. What do you think of Sotomayor? Do you think it's a good thing?
Let's talk about.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah. No, I really, I haven't done enough research to make a very educated comeback
Mm-hmm.
on this particular topic. I do know that justice has a lot of influence in the big picture over the course of time. But I think you brought up a good point earlier about some Republicans, the Republicans that did vote for her confirmation.
Of the few, it was either 8 or 9. Do you remember the exact number?
I think, well, I
Was
thought
it-
you said 8.
Was it 8? Yeah, you're right. It was 8. 6 of the 8 Republicans who voted for her are retiring next year. Which, I mean, you kind of draw your own conclusions on that. But to me, what that says is that these Republicans liked her, but politically, they were the only ones who felt safe voting for her. So, take it for what it's worth.
And this is politics,
Yep.
so it makes a lot of sense.
From the left,
To the right,
thank you, and we'll see you next time.
rock and roll. Bye.
I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. I hear the sound of a gentle